I just finished interviewing George Tinsley Sr. I got to tell you, I'm blown away and a little bit humbled. He's been turning obstacles into opportunities in franchising for over 40 years, and even longer than that in life itself. Here are three takeaways from the episode. Number one, repeat customers are the key to success. Number two, growing the top line takes care of a lot of the smaller problems. And number three is every franchisee should think of three spaces where they need to win. Number one is in your office, literally looking at the data, looking at the numbers. Knowing your numbers is table stakes. Number two is in the four walls of your business. You got to know what's going on in there with the clients, with the staff, with the vendors, with traffic patterns. Go in there at different times of day, different days. You have to know that. And number three is your community. It's where your clients live. You have to know what's going on in there. You have to be involved in some way, shape, or form. You can't win unless you know what's going on in your community. I hope you'll find these to be as insightful as I did. And there's more in the episode. Listen to 40 years of wisdom. And if you're an emerging franchise founder, you already know this. The jump from 10 to 100 units is where most brands stall out. Not because the concept isn't strong, but because the founder is drowning in chaos. I'm Guy Coffey, franchisor, franchisee, and growth strategist. I've been where you are, and I know what it takes to build a brand that scales without burning out, selling out, or losing control. That's why I created the Franchise Scale Up Show. Every week, I'll share the playbooks, the red flags, and the mindset shifts to separate the brands that stall from the ones that scale. So if you're serious about protecting your vision and multiplying your brand, hit subscribe right now. This is the Franchise Scale Up Show. I'm Guy Coffey. Let's get to work. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Scale Up Show with me, Guy Coffey, and a very special guest today, Mr. George Tinsley Sr. George has been in franchising. I think you hold the record for the podcast for being in franchising the most amount of time. I've never had anybody on the podcast that's been a 9 times Hall of Famer. And I've never had anybody on the podcast that has a picture of him and Colonel Sanders together either. So I am really looking forward to having this conversation with you and helping people that are listening or watching learn and grow from not just your business acumen, but what you do in life, because you've impacted so many people. So thank you so much for being on the show, George. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on your show. I look forward to the dialogue with you. Franchising has been very dear to me over the years, and I've been fortunate to have already been prepared prior to getting into franchising, having worked for a franchisor, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and also the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Colonel, and also playing professional basketball and team sports leadership and so forth. So that all gave me something to work with as I entered into the franchising space.
Well, you've certainly leveraged all of that knowledge and that work ethic and your skills and intellect and abilities. One of the things that I want to see more franchisees doing and more franchise systems doing is giving back to their local communities, not just build it and they will come and that kind of thing. But how have you seen that? It seems like a tried and true method and a tried and true way of living life that actually has paybacks. Could you just talk about that a little bit, please?
Well, the giving back to the community that you do business in, that was built into my DNA and my wife's DNA, who is my business partner. Our skill set and what we had been involved in prior to just automatically happened without really intentionally doing it. And having worked for KFC Corporation for 8 years and working with the Colonel, that's the way that he called it kerneling, where he would prepare the product in the back of the back of his service station where he got started in his white suit and bow tie, and then go out and visit with the customers in the lobby to see how they liked the food, see what they were throwing away, see what was left on the plate, all of those kinds of things, intentionally as well as unintentionally. Notice what's going on, opening the doors for the customers coming in and exiting and so forth. That was part of it inside the four walls, but also finding out where these people were coming from and what activities that were going on in the community, such as Chamber of Commerce's and other civic groups where you could possibly be a part of, given what the main perspective was, which is running your restaurant and making sure it's running properly, where you had time to get involved. Fortunately for us, my wife was able to get involved in the chambers of commerces and some of the other business community activities while I was actually working in the restaurant, and eventually we both were involved. So that's where it all came from, and
Mm,
it helped grow our business, grow our presence throughout, and we had an opportunity. We took it to another step where in our first KFC, well, our first three KFCs, we actually had lobby hostesses that were senior citizens who actually worked in the lobby, picking up trash, cleaning tables, welcoming customers, talking to customers, and giving us feedback on what they were saying, things that they
mm,
liked, things they didn't like. That feedback that we could translate back in the back of the house and be able to correct those issues, or I could go out and talk to the customer to get something straight before they actually left. Because the key to the success in your business, in a franchise business, is the repeat visits, not the one visit, but
mm.
that visit where you get that customer back in, rather than that normal 30, 60 day period that you get them back in there every week or every time they're passing the restaurant. I think about their visit. So, people coming
Mm.
in spending their hard-earned money, you want them to feel good about their visits.
Well, you were maybe Sam Walton stole your idea with the Walmart greeters.
Yeah,
Same idea,
on a much
right?
much bigger perspective.
Sounds like it had a lot of impact and you came
Yeah,
up with it. So
yeah.
that's great. You came from the franchisor side and then became a franchisee. And I'm going to selfishly ask this because I have a son who works for Anytime Fitness Corporation down in Australia. And he's like, I'm learning so much and everything like that. But he's 20. So he's very hungry and,
Yeah.
and aggressive. And he's like, but I want to be like dealing directly with the clients of the business. How did you find that transition, and was that a rewarding one for you? Was that based on I need to grow my own nest egg here and not just have a corporate job, and I see this concept working so well that I want to do that, or was it community based? What was the drive, and how did that work out for you?
Well, when I went to work with KFC Corporation, I went there as a trainer because my background, the last 3 years, I had been a school teacher and a coach there in Louisville, Kentucky, which is where the headquarters is. I also played professional basketball there for the Kentucky Colonels of the ABA, and grew up in that particular area. So when I went to work with KFC, they were going to put a training center in Chicago and decided not to at the last minute, and they were able to work out a contract with a local business college and built the restaurant classrooms in that college. So that's where I met the colonel himself. I had no idea I was going to be working with him, but that's where I met him. And so I started out with training franchisees themselves, people that were coming in for 1 week, 2 weeks of training so that they could understand what KFC was all about and how the basics were put together. I had no business background, but I learned pretty quick on my feet. So I had some other instructors that I was working with. I had a teaching background, so I took the lead on the actual teaching piece where they
Mhm.
were a little timid about getting up in front of the class. But anyway, long story
Okay.
short, as I went through that and working with these franchisees, these millionaires, that were coming in, and literally had a meeting out of my hand just based off of taking one war story from one class and using it in the next class and using it in the next class, plus having the colonel there. I was learning, and I started getting invited out into their restaurants through the corporation. They wanted me to come out and do troubleshooting because I had a
Mm.
God-given talent to be able to recognize situations that would be beneficial in turning things around, like just simple stuff that the customers were complaining about this, or they were having certain issues. It was fairly easy fix that they just needed to zero in on. So anyway, long story short, with that, I started off in the training, and then I worked through to operations, went into Atlanta, and I ran 7 restaurants there, learned the operations business. Then I got into a much bigger training and operations area with Atlanta with 51 restaurants. Then went back to corporate and human resources, and then I had everything from Kentucky to Hawaii in human resources and covering all the people issues and problems and hiring and so forth. Then I went into the franchising side where I was the corporate representative that working with the franchisees themselves and helping them grow their business. So I was working directly in the store. So I had all of that background before the opportunity came about for me to get an opportunity to become a franchisee. And that happened because
Okay.
Reverend Jesse Jackson and Operation Push had opened the doors for minorities to get into the business. I did not have $1 million, and basically KFC was looking for all franchisees. Then you had to have $1 million liquid to be able to qualify to get into the business. But that opened the door for me going through the KFC guaranteed franchising program, and then be able to settle that debt and then go ahead and grow my business from that particular point. So I hit the ground running. Our first restaurant was $1 million restaurant, which at that time KFC average volume was about 600,000. So we hit the ground running, and it was off to the races from there.
Wow. Wow. And how many did you grow into?
We grew up to 12 KFCs, and then we started diversifying and getting into the airport business, where the franchise opportunities opened up based off of our request for proposals in the airport. So we went in to the Tampa Airport with a TGI Fridays that became the number one TGI Fridays in the nation for 9 years. So we hit the ground
Wow.
running in the airport business, and we started growing from that point on.
Wow. And is that the direction that the company took? Because I know the name of your company is Tinsley Concessions, right? So is that the route that you pursued for until this time?
Once we got into the airport business, I fell in love with the airport business because you have all of these new customers coming through every day, and the airport business was one that my my skill set worked well because I came from the street, which is, you're fighting for every dollar. In the airport business, a lot of these concessions companies, they have the whole, excuse me, entire airport, or they have one section and so forth. And it's a more of a laid back, well, if we don't get you here, we don't get you here, we'll get you at that particular restaurant down here. Well, I was in
Oh,
there with one restaurant, so I was fighting for every dollar, and I was in that restaurant greeting my customers, same thing I did on the street. But other managers, if you will, were not doing the same thing. So people, and I had my picture on the wall, Dr. J's picture on the wall, and I had a
okay.
story to tell to the customers and where they were coming from, where they're going, etc. And so I developed a rapport where it was they would tell another customer and they would tell another person, and that we were pre-security, so people were coming in to the airport just to visit our TGI Fridays
Okay.
and then leave. So they weren't all flying out.
Right. Oh yeah. Pre-security.
Yes.
Forget about those days. But that's interesting. So you leveraged everything you had. Like I bet you're one of those people that you never met a stranger that you can't chat with and create some kind of commonality and 2 degrees of
Yeah.
separation. And with your pro basketball career, you probably traveled all over the country. So you had stories about where they were going or where they were coming from. And that makes a big difference,
Yeah.
even in today. Like if you can create that, I had a conversation with the owner. I had a conversation with the manager. A real conversation in itself is a distinct. Not that
Yeah.
that's the only secret to your success. I imagine you're also really good at watching the numbers and looking at things and making the necessary adjustments in terms of processes and tools and
Yeah.
personnel.
Well, when you
Right.
have high sales, it sometimes takes care of those little mistakes that that are made from a lack of talent in certain areas. But no, I always say that the goal is to drive the top line. The bottom line will take care of itself. And those people that are in the business to make every dollar they can, they're going to have some issues, rather than just growing your sales by driving more customers versus raising prices, or watching labor real tight, or watching the bottom line real tight. I mean, those are things that need to be reviewed on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. But you've got to take care of those customers, and they will take care of you. You take care of your employees, they will take care of you. You make your employees feel like they're part of the decision making process, they will take care of you. If they see you practicing what you preach, then they will fall in line and do it. Because every employee that walks in there, they think they know how their job. They think they know the job, and they want to do what they feel is right. So you have to convince
Mhm.
them that what we're doing here is going to be a profitable situation for us all. My very first KFC, as I said, was a $1 million restaurant. 5 years into uh, 5 years into it, and we'd already paid off our debt at that particular time for the restaurant. Well, it caught on fire and burned down. And
Mm.
we had two other restaurants at that time. We were building at that time probably one restaurant every other year. But yeah, that restaurant burned down, and it was April. I thought it was an April Fool's joke when I got the call. But when I got
Mm.
there, I mean, flames were shooting above building, and crowds were built up. Our employees were all standing out there. My heart was had sink, and I didn't know
Mm.
what we were going to do. But as I saw the traffic building up, I saw these lunch trucks that were out there, and it just hit me. Maybe God speaking to me that since my restaurant was going to be down for at least 60 to 90 days, that I could use the other two restaurants. Get one of these lunch trucks, develop a truck, chicken truck, if you will, and put warming cabinets. This was before these lunch trucks became popular, that we see on the street today. And so I followed those trucks to all of their spots, developed this truck, loaded up at the other two restaurant with snackables, not chicken on a lot of chicken on the bone, because
Mhm.
snackables lasted longer. And I beat those trucks to their spot, moving forward, and I was able to do almost the daily sales that I had going on at that restaurant. I was able to move my employees over to it was the next city over to work there with the insurance coverage and so forth. And then at the end of the day, moving around, following these paths and selling chicken out of my truck, developing it was guerrilla marketing with all of the base because people took note of what we're doing. Came back to that site, sat there in the evening to let people know we were coming back. The restaurant was doing a million when it closed down. When we reopened, which I made changes for throughput, drive
Mhm.
through, and also customer in and out inside of the restaurant, the seating, added seating, and so forth, that we were able to double the sales. We opened at 2 million after that restaurant closed. So I wanted to share that story of resilience to your guests, and let you know there's always a light in this dark cloud. So yeah,
Right. There's always another move. You just got to
yep,
keep looking.
yeah,
And that's a great story. So I'm so glad you shared that because
yeah.
I can't imagine looking at flames coming out of your restaurant
It,
and
it
having
was
the wherewithal and the state of mind to be looking for opportunity at the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I might be covering up my hands and crying at that
Yeah.
time.
Well,
But
you know, that
no, that's a
comes
great
from
story.
playing sports and losing and learning how to turn a loss into a win the next time out and so forth. So I think all of that played into my mindset as all this was going on. Because I got to tell you, my head was throbbing, and I'm thinking about all of my employees and my two little children and my wife at the
Mhm,
office. Well, how are we going to, what are we going to do here? Even though we had two other restaurants
mhm.
running, but they weren't as high volume as that very first one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I have to ask you just a non-franchising question, just because we do have some people that are just
Sure.
building up their own businesses, starting their brands, trying to get to a certain point so they can grow from there. Um, what's the one thing that you would say to somebody that's got a business that's, it's paying the bills, but it's not to that next level? And assuming that this is someone that's willing to work hard and someone that's, not going to go with the, the excuse of the day or whatever that kind of, whatever that is. But someone that's aggressive and bright and wants to grow for the right reasons. I mean, would you have them focus on the customer experience or the sales, or, what would you say? Because it sounds like you pour yourself into everything that you do. And I guess the question there would be, how do you do that when you had three stores and 12 stores and you were running the concessions? How do you show up that much all the time every day?
Well, I tell people, and it's kind of hard to get the point over, especially with some of our younger people trying to get in to the business. It's a sacrifice to be a restaurant owner. I'll use restaurant because that's what we're talking about here. You have to pour yourself into the business, but pour yourself into the business smartly. I've seen over the years a lot of operators who are there 7 days a week, mulling over the numbers, watching their staff, not giving them any autonomy. Uh, Getting upset with the customers and just overanalyzing the business. So your question is being a little loaded. It would depend. So I'm kind of giving a broad stroke. It kind of depends upon what that problem is keeping that business from being successful. Whether it's one restaurant, whether it's three restaurants, whether it's 12 restaurants, whatever it is. You have to kind of look at your income statements, obviously, see where your issues are there, and also and what you have in reserve, or what you're doing with your cash flow. If you're not keeping it in the business, you have to understand your business inside the four walls on how sales are going against the national norm, or the local demographic that you're fearing, a branded concept, how other restaurants are doing. You got to talk to your customers and see what they feel about, because they're the most important people, those folks, because they pay the bills when they come in and they spend the money. And if they're not happy, then that's, obviously there's a problem there. So you want to look at your traffic counts and compare sales against last week, against the last 2 weeks, against the last quarter, against the last year. The full P&L, the traffic count, I mean your customer counts, and your sales, and what's moving, what kind of marketing program do you have, local marketing program, national marketing program, what's working, what you can do to supplement that. We talked earlier about being involved in the community, chamber of commerce's, boys club, having some of your employees that are students, who high performing students that work in the local high schools, that are working for you, making sure your employees are happy, that they're greeting the customers. Customers tend to look at your employees when they come in, and they evaluate on what their experience is going to be like.
Mm,
If the employees are not dressed properly, if they're scratching their head, or if their pants are hanging off of them, they may not want
yeah.
to come back. There's a number of different things that you have to kind of evaluate. But I would say pour yourself into the business smartly and go to your business at different times of the day if you're not in there mostly, but go to your business in the morning and go to your business late evening, go to your business on the weekends, lunches, dinners, visit different times, drive through the drive through and see how that service works. If you have a drive through, look at your ingress egress on your business, how easy it is to get in and out of your parking lot, what you can do there, so there's and if it
Hmm.
requires site relocation, because the traffic pattern has changed. So there's and if you're a franchisee for a brand, getting that brand represented in to help you, because that's what you pay for with your royalties, and
Yeah.
making sure that they provide the training programs that you can use, and even get in there and help you if where possible. So there's just so many things that come to mind when you ask me that question, and that's one of those things I love to do, is to be able to go in and analyze what the issue is, talk to the owner as well as talk to the employees, talk to the customers, sit back and watch the traffic patterns and see if the cars are going by there too fast, and where
Mm.
what else is in the area that draws the traffic into the trade area. There are just so many things to take a look at. But bottom line
Yeah.
is, get yourself involved in the business.
Yeah. What I hear you saying, George, is there's really three spaces. Like all the data analysis that you were talking about is probably
Right.
sitting in your office.
Right.
Maybe it's before the workday starts or after or things like that.
Mhm.
And then you have what you've mentioned a few times is within the four walls of your business, if you have a brick and mortar business. And then the other space is your community. Like yeah, you can just tell that your communities and things like that.
Right.
And then obviously, just like in a team sport, there's a coach, there's a GM, things like that. As you've gone, in the beginning, I'm sure you were in your restaurants all the time. And then as time went on, when you had to focus on other things, you developed your own leadership, right? And there's a trick to that. Not a trick. There's an art to that. Giving someone enough autonomy and responsibility
Right.
to grow, while also keeping in mind that they don't know everything. So mistakes might be costing you money. And it probably depends on the individual and how well they are. Have you grown a lot of people within your organization when you were running the 12 KFCs, or
Yes.
if you didn't have somebody, you bring in someone in and then spending some
Yeah.
quality time with them.
Yeah.
What was the method that worked best for you?
Well, the best method was growing from within, taking people that you have working for you that are looking for a career, and promoting and raising those people up, those that are qualified now, that understand what your philosophy is about the business, and able to articulate that, and train and follow through on it. And excuse me, in our business, the typical spot, when you get to about three restaurants, then you need to have a supervisor, or at least one supervisor, to be able to cover those three restaurants from the standpoint of operations. Obviously, administrative area, you need infrastructure there to be able to take care of administrative stuff. But from an operations standpoint, you need somebody to get around to the restaurants, other than yourself. And I use three restaurants as the 3 to 6, depending upon what kind of brand it is, to as far as a supervisor is concerned, to be able to cover. But you're evaluating your business on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and on a quarterly basis, looking at all of the store level operations, the supervisor and the general manager. Most restaurants, the general manager and two assistant managers that work together for coverage of the business. So, depending upon your open to close hours, and
Sure.
whether you're open 7 days a week, etc. So
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. But yeah, growing people from it within is one of the excellent ways of doing it. When you get to a certain level, you obviously want to look at people that have the skill set to be able to manage people, but also be able to analyze the numbers and maintain your philosophy about growing sales and not trying to uh, run everything is so tight that you're driving customers away or you're driving
Yeah.
employees away, et cetera, and taking proper vacations and days off and so forth. So all of
Yeah.
that kind of comes into play as you build your infrastructure and as you grow your business. And that's one thing about
Yeah.
the airport. You got everything right there contained in one particular facility. So, one person can run 7, 8, 9 restaurants.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in, but you have the built-in customer base, right? And they're going to eat somewhere, hopefully, if they have the time, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
you got,
do you have
you
operations in multiple airports right now, or is it Louisville
Yeah, no,
focus?
we're in Louisville, we're in Miami, and we're in Tampa. So you have airside pre-security, post-security. So post-security, obviously, most of our customers want to get out to the gates where they don't have to worry about going through TSA. So it's a different philosophy on the different side as far as coverage and everything is concerned. But you got other competition within the pre-security and post-security on the different air sides, and some airlines are stronger than the others. So
Mm,
that replacement its location again inside the airport because of the way the traffic patterns run with the different
yeah.
airlines. As you can imagine, Delta is strong, and different airports. Your Southwest Airlines is usually real strong. The low end
Hmm.
carriers and the high end carriers is a different kind of customer base. So hopefully you
Yeah.
can move different restaurants around.
Yeah. Yeah. So the restaurant business wasn't complicated enough for you. You decided to add on the travel industry and
Yeah.
everything that can affect that, from fuel prices to shutdowns to weather and things like that.
Yes.
Well, you are a glutton for for complexity,
You
but
gotta
it
love
sounds
it.
like you've nailed it. And that kind of gets me to my next question. I have two more questions if you have the time.
Sure.
I know that you have been in business a long time. You have sons that are going to be maybe taking over, sons or daughters. I'm sorry,
One
I
son.
don't. I think it's
One son.
son. And tell me about like how that the as you transition out of day to day, and and your wife is in the business too, so it's a true family affair, which I absolutely love. My wife and I work together, and our one son is in franchising. um how is that? I mean, he must have grown up hearing every conversation about the business. So just like my son, like there's a level of knowledge that he doesn't even know he has compared to everybody else, but still lots to learn, and big footsteps, no pun intended, to
Yeah.
step into. So how is that going for you?
It has had its challenges, but my son has been in the business since he was 6, 7 years old. He's wanted to be involved. He had an older sister. My daughter passed away a few years ago, but
Sorry.
she was a daddy's girl, and so she wanted to be with me and wanted to be in the business. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed customers. She ran registers and so forth until she got to the point where the boys were looking at her and a little too
Okay.
much and flirting and so forth. Then she didn't want. She was an actress and a model, so she wanted to get out. My son wanted to be in it long run, and so he actually stayed in, but he went to work. We decided that it would probably be better if he went to work for someone else when he got in
Mm,
college. And so he actually went to work after graduating from college with our partner in Miami, which is HMS Host of Volta. Went to work for
awesome.
that company and worked with them primarily for probably about 10 years. And then we got an opportunity in Louisville, our Louisville operation, and he transitioned to running those restaurants in Louisville, as well as working with the restaurants in Miami. And of course, I ran Tampa and our business here around the area here on the street. So, but how's that working now to transition totally? He's, I don't know how much you know about Morehouse College, which is
Mm,
where Dr. Martin Luther King went to school, and the Morehouse men
yeah.
are pretty strong. So he has his own opinion about things. He has his master's degree in business and so forth. So we kind of clash occasionally,
Mm,
and it's primarily because I come from the entrepreneurial, not the corporate. Got out of the corporate in '84, and I come from the entrepreneurial, hands-on in the restaurant. He has spent a lot of time from the corporate structure where you look at things a little bit differently, and you got hundreds of restaurants that can offset the little box of chicken that disappears. Box of
right.
chicken worries me; it doesn't worry him. So it's
Okay.
been an interesting interaction, but we make it work. He lives right next door to us, and so we
Nice.
all three work in the office together. Even though he's now the president, he's the largest stock owner, and my wife and I, are gently stepping back in the past, but we're there to kind of help make sure things stay with on the tracks. And we have our clashes, but we also hug and love each other, and we go through it. So we're proud of him. We're
Yeah.
proud of the legacy. We just opened a brand new Auntie Anne's in Louisville, Kentucky, and he did it all by himself, the whole development. And so we had a
Nice.
big Auntie Anne's Day there in Louisville, Kentucky, and with the mayor presenting a plaque to us. And so it's
Wow.
he's off and running.
Very cool. Well, I mean, I know day to day, it doesn't feel like a dream probably all the time, but like I know that's my dream,
Yeah,
to be working with my kids and growing something and everything that you've done that also impacts your community as well. So
yeah.
congratulations. That's
Thank you,
amazing.
thank you, thank you.
And I'd love to hear just a little bit about, you've got such experience and this giving heart and strong intellect. I know you have a new book that's coming out and it's on mindset and life philosophy called Catch as Catch Can. And can you just tell me a little bit about that title? And then, of course, we're going to have everything linked so that people can go to your
Sure.
book and
Catch,
your
yeah.
talks and everything.
Yeah, Catch as Catch Can is a catchy way. My publisher and I, as we talked about it, came up with that rather than turning obstacles to opportunities, which has been my tagline throughout the years. Uh, and the book is a memoir of my whole life story, which I think it would be an inspiration to um, anyone that's coming from a tough situation, that lets them know that they can succeed if they go about life the right way, and take advantage of opportunities that are presented to them, and not hang on to negativity, and believe in a higher power, and in giving back. I was adopted at 7 months old, raised by a lady, a babysitter, and this is all in the book. A lady who was a babysitter who couldn't read or write. She had one leg, and drew a social security check. She kept children, and for some reason, my mother didn't come back, and so we moved around the city of Louisville, basically homeless until I was 13, and she took sick and she passed away. I went to live with her son and his wife. They lived in one room, and he worked for a company called Bluebird Pie Company there, and his wife sewed, and we all slept in the same bed. He worked at night,
Wow.
she worked during the day. So that didn't go over real well as a 6'3" eighth grader, and so forth. So my sixth grade teacher told me one day, because I didn't do homework, I didn't have anybody that really cared about homework. We only had one light in the rooms that we were in, and so forth. And I wore the same clothes to school, washed them, and so forth. So I was just glad to go to school. Was a happy-go-lucky kid, and probably got in more trouble because of just wanting to be a part. But
Hmm.
integration started in the fifth grade, my fourth, fifth grade year. So all the black school closed down. I went to the white school. We had to take a test. I failed the test, got put back a year. So that made me even taller than the other kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so my teacher called me up one day and said, "George, you just need to quit school. You're not going to make it. You're not going to graduate." And in those days, a lot of kids, especially African American kids and minorities, left school because they went to work for the family and so forth. But I
Mm.
wanted to be in school, so I went back and sit down and said I need to do something a little bit different. And but I was able to pass to the seventh grade. My seventh grade teacher fell in love with me. It gave me a job that motivated me, and I still communicate with her today. And
No, really.
she inspired me to do better. Gave me a job as the projector boy, which I would go around and set up the movies for all the classes that we're having and having movies and so forth. That changed, and it got my mind on getting my work done, and then I keep this job, and it opened up the door to the coach that was there at the junior high school. They and playing organized basketball and all the other sports. Was able to go to a great high school and the high school there in Louisville, Kentucky, in Louisville Male, which I got was able to get a scholarship. I made all state and so forth. Got a scholarship to college. Won the national championship my first year as a starter as a freshman. Went to Europe and Africa teaching basketball as a Goodwill ambassador. Came back. I'd almost flunked out of school that year, but I was able to turn that around and receive the highest award at the college that Kentucky Wesleyan College that they give out, Dean's List, and made All American 2 years. We won three national championships. We're up for the Naismith Hall of Fame due to those years, and that's where the beginning of this nine-time Hall of Fame member comes. So a
Okay.
great successful story in college, getting drafted into the NBA and the ABA, and my life's journey right on into where we pick up with teaching and coaching. And when I got married at 26, I found my mother and father and 16 brothers and sisters on both sides, and so that all of that happened in 1972, the same year. So it was quite a year, if you will. So the book contains a
Jeez.
lot of obstacles that I overcame to be able to take that leap to the next step, and it shows anyone that you're going to be faced with challenges. You just have to give it time, trust in the Lord, and know that things work out. You need support, need help. My wife I met in high school, but we actually started dating in college, and she was the backbone of me getting things turned around the right track, getting my grades turned around because I wanted to impress her and so forth. And we've been married 54 years, and she's a very
Congratulations.
successful a radio operator, a radio station operator for a number of years, and then came into business with me in 1984. So it's a great book, a great story, and we're getting ready to start going on the road with book signings around the southeast and moving the book. It was the number one seller on Amazon.com, and so I think there's some pretty good learnings there.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of learnings there. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. I could ask you a million questions, and I'm sure you've got a million stories for it too. But congratulations on all your
Thank you.
success. Thanks for all you do for everybody that's coming behind you. Thanks for the inspirational story about where you came from, where you
Uh,
are, what you're doing,
yeah.
and keep doing what you're doing because we
So,
need
so if
more
I can just,
inspirational stories and success
if
stories.
thank you. If I can just mention one thing, maybe you can put it in here, but a lot of the
Yeah.
employees that we hired, that we brought on in our first restaurant and in our local restaurants have gone on to be doctors, lawyers, ministers, and principals and deans and so forth, all having an opportunity to grow up in the KFC and understand what they could be based off of seeing my wife and I and how we operated in the communities and so forth. And we hear a lot. The reason I bring it up because we hear a lot of that feedback from these employees, and a lot of them are in their 60s now, late 50s, and so forth. But that's another great thing about franchising and running your
Mm.
own business, that you're able to help build that community.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a little bit of that in our own shorter experience, and
Yeah.
it truly is the reward, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks for
George,
allowing me the
again,
time.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Best of luck with everything. We're gonna have links to everything that is related to you. And once again, thank you, and have a wonderful day. That wraps up today's episode of the Franchise Scale Up Show. If this gave you a strategy you can put into play, please share it with the one founder who needs the help. You might save them months of pain. If you're ready to go deeper, whether it's building your support infrastructure, accelerating territory sales, or preparing for private equity, go to guycoffey.com. That's GUYCOFFEY, and book a free franchise growth strategy call. I only partner with founders who are committed to scaling without losing control. If that's you, I'd love to connect. Until next time, protect your vision, move fast, and scale smart. I'm Guy Coffey. Talk soon.